Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I've got some Q&A from William, and I've got the second encounter from the state trooper from Pennsylvania. I will include his first encounter to refresh everyone's memory. Also, I'd like to apologize for not having an upload for a couple of days. I had a fever for 2 days straight, and yesterday I dropped my phone down a flight of stairs, which completely destroyed it. So, on top of having a fever and being phoneless, I was pretty ticked off yesterday, so I apologize. Before we get into today's upload, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. All of those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fanfiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that really don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything you're into, follow that link and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. Now, guys, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's encounters. Shall we? We'll start today's upload with the state trooper from Pennsylvania. Hello, Jeff. I'm at work, working a double. Sorry it took me some time to get back to you. I'm on lunch now. My name is Kay. I am African-American male, 34 years old, 6'3", 275 pounds. I'm in pretty good shape. I've been in law enforcement going on 5 years now. Recently transferred to PA a year ago. 4 months after settling into Pennsylvania, there was a call through dispatch that came through as there was a minivan on the side of the road in a ditch, that the driver believed he hit a black bear, lost control of the vehicle, and went off the side of the road. Also, a few minutes later, it approached the van, trying to get in. It's a husband, his wife, and their 13-year-old son. So at the time, I'm the closest one on the scene. 5 minutes west on 78 West. So I get to the described area. It took me 10 minutes to find them. I approach the vehicle. There's claw marks a half an inch deep. I announced myself to them. They're all hysterically sobbing. I'm trying to calm them down. I asked, "Where's the bear?" It must have heard you coming, so it took off. I called for emergency services, and they were 20 minutes out. They didn't want to get out of the car, as I assured them it was gone, so I can see who was injured. Then I heard a low, powerful growl behind me. I was facing the family, my back to the woods. Looking at the husband's eyes, as big as saucers, I knew the bear had returned. I slowly unholstered my service pistol at the time, which was a 9mm. I slowly turned around and realized, shit, this is no bear. Standing approximately 40 feet away, on all fours, was this monstrosity. Then it stood up and let out this roar, which fucked with my mobility. I couldn't move, and me with this pea shooter against this 8-foot beast. I'm the only thing between him and this family. As I looked into those orange eyes, hair blacker than the night, I knew what its intentions were. I'm going to kill and eat you, and there's not a thing you can do to stop me. Shooting at it would have just pissed it off. I had no choice, so I took an aim for a headshot. It charged, and I fired 2 shots. I missed, the other grazing its ear. It started running in a zigzag pattern. Fired 3 more, they missed. Fired 1, hit it in the ass, and it yelped. Fired 1, hitting it in the thigh, and it took off. EMS showed up. It never returned. Police report, deformed bear with rabies attacked critically, was fired upon and took off. A large amount of paperwork for firing my weapon and the amount of bullets used. I've had nightmares for months, finding me at home and ripping me to shreds. Well, that's my first encounter. Please email me if you have any questions. I will send you my second encounter soon. Second email. Thank you, I appreciate. Also, I found out that 80% of police departments know about this and have certain people within the organization take over cryptid report because once I turned in my report, I spoke with a person who I had never met before asking about specifics. about his terms, and I quote, "Tell me everything you can remember about this so-called black bear," which I did. After the questioning, I went to my supervisor asking him who that was and why so interested in the animal. His response is above all our pay grade. Be sure to comply and you will be fine. At lunch tonight, I'll give you my last encounter, which turned into a missing persons and government cover-up. Third email. Hey Jeff, how's it going? I hope you're feeling better. So ever since my first encounter, I'm heavily strapped 90% of the time with a high-powered gun or rifle, always watching my six, since I've been awakened to a new reality. My second encounter only happened by chance, because that night it was 40 minutes until my shift was over. There were some local officers responding to a young man in his mid-20s who threatened someone's life. This took place in the town of Bethel Park, PA. So as the two officers approached, he took off, cutting through areas inaccessible to vehicles, then later got into a vehicle and took off. They were able to locate the vehicle, and I believe was South Park in PA, minutes from the last known area. There's where I met up with the two officers, and we decided we were going to spend 30 minutes trying to locate him at the time. He was known as Michael Rickard. I went to my vehicle and grabbed my Desert Eagle and strapped on my AR over my back. The two officers had this dude. "What the fuck? We don't think he's dangerous," I whispered back. "This ain't for him." 5 minutes into the search, I saw the tail signs of something wasn't right, and I urged the officers we should head back. They started laughing, saying, "We got this, you're safe with us." Then, in the distance, we heard a man screaming bloody murder, followed by a roar and a howl from another location. My Desert was already unholstered since we started the trek. We saw a young man in the distance hauling ass to us and something 100 yards away giving chase. As I was about to fire upon the one giving chase, another one had snuck up on us without a noise and stepped out of the brush. The officers were too scared to unholster their weapons. It stood 7 foot, 300 pounds, brown hair, shark-like teeth, big eyes, long muzzle like a German shepherd, and extremely ugly. I had a new target. First shot better count as it was 20 yards away. I was ready to fire. I heard another scream. I looked back in the direction of Michael. Him and the Dogman were gone. I looked back at the other one and it was gone. I was able to get the two officers to retreat to our vehicles, call our supervisor, and told them what happened. They met up with us about 7 miles from the station, and that same guy from my previous encounter was there with his partner. They debriefed us and told us we were sworn to secrecy, that we were never here, and told us now this is just a missing victim. On to some Q&A with William. Wolfka asked, given the amount of werewolves and Dogman you released, how many enclosures, handlers, veterinarians did it take to maintain them? And how and what did you feed them? We had 3 compounds across the United States, one in Virginia being the largest by far, probably had at one time 2,800 employees for 2 shifts. Then our next largest was in Colorado. It had about 1,800 employees for 2 shifts. Our third was in Oregon. It had about 900 employees for 1 shift. As to what they ate, if it was not in the breeding program, it was raw meat. If it was in the breeding program, they ate cooked meals prepared along the diet of human. The Dogman would fight over what its handlers gave them and still do to this day, like it's never enough. But they are fed around 18 pounds of food daily, and the werewolves are bigger in size and they get about 24 to 30 pounds a day, depending on what the meat is. Turin King asked about the Dennis Martin case. The Dennis Martin case in 1969 mentions these feral men running around in this area, and that the locals knew about them, but nothing was ever done. My agency is involved with them way back then, but we worked a little different then. Back then, you were assigned an area, and the agent that was working that case and several other cases was not known for his field. It got to the point that he had so many open cases, he committed suicide. Lee Orton asked, Princeton, Kentucky, how many Dogman and werewolves are in my area? There are 13 Dogman within 22 miles from the center of Princeton. Most of them showing up on the northeast side, and I'm going to have to send some agents to the LBL. There are 78 showing up right now southwest of Princeton, Kentucky, within 22 miles of the town center. Need to be careful out that way. I will have agents there tomorrow to try to get them to move so they are not so bunched up. This could cause a problem in the future. Bear Attack 322 asked, how many Dogman or werewolves are near Pinkerton, Ohio? Last year, there was plenty of deer and geese. Now I barely see one or two. You have 16 Dogman northeast of the town, within a 30-mile center of town. They are all located on one side. Then you have 24 werewolves all around the inside that 30-mile radius center of town. That would cause a problem with your deer population, and along with a good amount of coyotes, I could see it getting depleted. Colleen Cara Lee Peltema asked, how many tagged werewolves have crossed over and are in Mississauga, Ontario? There are 18 showing up on radar right now, and that from a 22-mile radius from the center of town. AJP asked, are there really different types of Dogman, or is it simply Dogman and werewolf? AJP asked, are there really different types of Dogman, or is it simply Dogman and werewolf? Well, in all my years and talking with my dad, there is only one werewolf that either of us had ever had seen. When one was brought in, it had deformities, and we kept the body till every agent at the time could see it and study it. Now we'll move on to the Dogman. It only comes as one known type to us. It has the head of a wolf or a dog-like creature, and the only difference we see in some is the length of their snouts. They all have bent legs, as the canine family do. In saying this, I say there is but one type, but this has been argued for years. I will kill you one, and you will kill me one, and the other then the snout. Unless it's deformed, they will be known difference. Big Hoss asked, how many Dogman and werewolves live in Wisconsin, and where are they mostly located? Big Hoss showing 82 total Dogman in your state at this present time. And that's not a whole lot, but we need to remember that that's tagged, not counting the wild ones. Also now, onto the werewolves, there are 74 tagged in your state, mostly above the midway point of the state. A Jar of Pickles asks, why are Dogman occasionally spotted with crude jewelry and weapons? Also, do dinosaurs exist in the modern day? Well, Pickles, I myself have never seen Dogman with jewelry on them, but did speak with some Native Americans that told me of their people before trading trinkets to them, and they would wrap them up in their fur and wear them as you would a medal. But I have not seen it myself. As for weapons, I have seen pictures of the ones in South America, and they were not good quality, but looked like they had on a Vietnam-type vest and sword in their hands, but this was after they had been killed. That's all I can say on the subject, really, at this time. Sorry. Hernando Cortez asked, does Sebastian ever express compassion towards humans or remorse for the things he has done? Yes, he has. I'm actually sitting in his enclosure with him now, reading him some of the replies and comments and questions now. Back to the question, he does. That night with the agents, I looked at the film before I went down here, and I knew what had happened. And yes, I was armed, and I knew what had to be done, and so did Sebastian. Once I got their bodies out of there, then I found Sebastian, and we each knew that we had to come to either a peaceful plan or one of the two of us had to die. And I knew I was far enough away that I could still draw and fire and hit him, and it would count. We got it worked out and walked to his new enclosure, and that was all. Victor Porter asks, how many werewolves and Dogman are in Jacksonville, Florida? Victor, 28 miles from the center of town, there are 17 werewolves and 18 Dogman in the northwest and southwest sides of the city mostly. Braun Murray asked, North Spokane, Washington. How many Dogman and werewolves are in that area? Within 44 miles of the center of town, you have a total of 68 Dogman northwest. Due north-northeast, the majority is to the north, werewolf number 44, and likewise they are all the majority showing up due north, northwest, and northeast. Laura, a.k.a. Zach Z Girl 77, asks, Banner Elk, North Carolina. How many werewolves and Dogman are in the area? You have 62 werewolves running loose in a 36-mile area from the town center, and 36 Dogman running loose also in that same surrounding. Be a good place to see one. There are 2 inside city limits at 12, 50, 100 hours. Crusader of Christ asked, my thoughts on a lot of encounters having Dogman/werewolves taking bullets like nothing. How is that possible? How thick is their hide? Why is there no clear video or photos of Dogman or werewolf? As far as taking bullets, if they were using an AR type of weapon, 5.56, that is not going to do the job on these creatures. If they are shooting something big enough to kill them with, they are either missing them or they aren't hitting them at all in their kill area. The kill area is their head, and that's the best place for a kill shot. Their hide is about 5/8 of an inch thick, but their breastbone are massive, making it even harder to try to shoot through their body. As far as pictures, I can't explain why there are no clear photos. I stood beside a man and his wife, and they took still photos of Bigfoot with one of the best digital cameras I had ever seen, maybe 20 feet away, while I spoke to it, and was just trying to keep it calm while they'd done this. No aggression from either side, and she finally took about 4 steps and was gone. He was jumping up and down, took about 30 photos, and none of them turned out. Sherry Griffey asks, how many Dogman and werewolves are in the Letcher and Line Fort, Kentucky? Well, I did them combined, and here you go. This is a 29-mile radius from the center of both towns. You have 14 Dogman, and I would consider that low myself for that region, and you have 20 werewolves in the area you're asking about, and I also found the number low, but we must keep in mind these are the only tagged ones. Joe R. asked, he had a question for William about infrasound. Do any of the big 3 use it as a deterrent? Joe, it's said that Bigfoot uses this and also the Dogman. I have not heard it about the werewolves. My understanding is for it to actually have effect on a person is that person must have something that is wrong with their hearing, either from birth or from later in life, changing it so it's damaged. Hope this helps some. If not, there are people at my office that can answer the question. I'm not sure. Sorry, I don't have a better, more solid answer for you. T1017B asked, do female Dogman and werewolves bond with their pups? How do male feel towards their young? The females bond really well till that time comes for them to leave, and then they turn their backs on them. It's really hard to watch, but they just coldly put them out. As for the males, they will take up with the males and not so much the females, but there again, when the time comes to leave, the male will push them away as well. 76 Legend asked, How many of the big three are in St. Martinville, Louisiana? Well, a town I have been to on 5 separate occasions. I cannot track the Bigfoot. We never tagged any of them, as the breeding program never worked. Anyway, let's do the other 2. We are looking at a radius of 26 miles from the center of town. You have 30 Dogman and 20 werewolves. They are scattered, but the majority are in the northeast and east. Sonia Navarro asked, Bill, have you ever dealt with a Cynocephy and cryptid with a dog head and human body? I've never encountered this, and to my knowledge, this is only mythical and not an actual evidence. John Villafranca asked, why hasn't the government come clean about locating, capturing, and killing the Bigfoot? It will happen, but it will be on their time, not ours, sorry. That they make decisions, and poor ones at that. I personally killed 56 of them, and they were taken back and studied for a few days, then put in the incinerator and burnt to nothing. But ashes remain, same thing with everything we send back for examinations. Pardus asks, can you find out some more general info about shapeshifters and give us more than what you already know, like stories of people shapeshifting into an appearance of very similar to Dogman and Werewolf? Purtis, as to my knowledge, I said what I know about this area, as I don't deal with it, and I will have to ask Sam for an answer on this. Everything I know is they don't turn to humans, and they don't turn to Dogman or werewolves. They turn into a 4-legged animal of the woods, a wolf, a bear, a cougar, an animal of these sorts, is what I understand them to change to. This is when they are at their least dangerous. Also, when it's in its natural form is when they are really dangerous. I hope this helps. If it doesn't, please ask again. Daniel Redhorse asked, how many are around the Little Eagle, South Dakota, also Cannonball, North Dakota? Daniel, around Little Eagle, South Dakota, within 28 miles from the center of town, there are 32 Dogman and 22 werewolves. Cannonball, North Dakota, within 36 miles of the center of town, 56 Dogman, 42 werewolves. Stay safe. All right. What an upload right there. I want to thank Kay, and I'm calling him Kay because I know his real name, but I'm going to shorten it because he is active state trooper. Thank you for sending both of us to us. I really appreciate that, and thank you for you serving your state. I hope you remain safe during all of this. I know Pennsylvania is a hot spot for lawlessness right now. As to his encounter, once again, we see where there are 2 working as a team, possibly even more, which reminded me of the New Hampshire ambulance encounter, which is very crazy because they are intelligent. You know, like William is sharing with us, we are learning more about them. They are very intelligent creatures, which is even more amazing and scary. Also, I want to thank William for taking the time out to answer these questions. He is working while he answers these questions. And, you know, it does take some time to answer, 21 questions, type it out and send it to me. We were discussing today in an email how he really screwed things up for himself about answering a few questions on how many are statewide, because we get all these questions and answers, and yeah, people want to know how many are statewide in their area, but that's really not that informative. It's just informative to where, oh yeah, there's 36 in this area, and that kind of like, I want to know more about the creature, more about what their habits are, more about what they're doing, more about what happened during, this whole time of the breeding program, the release, everything. It's very informative to know how many are around, but there's more information than just knowing where one is. So yeah, that was kind of funny, and I agreed with him, that there's probably 400 questions. Where are they? How many are here? But let's start asking some really good questions. I know you guys are wanting to know about how many are in your area, but there are some better questions out there, guys. I got a few that I'm going to ask William myself via email, and hopefully he'll get back to me. He's doing well today, and I'm still, as you can tell, my throat's still a little sore. I've been drinking a lot of hot tea. I'm glad my fever broke. That really sucked. And every time I tried to eat something, I couldn't, which got me really nervous about things, because I will never forget the time when I was diagnosed with my illness, and I remember the latter effect of what I went through and how painful it was for me. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you, and keep asking the questions. William will keep answering it, hopefully, and let's everyone remain COVID-19 free. Also, let's remember some of the guidelines. A big thing is the social distancing, 6 feet away, and masks. I was listening to a podcaster who I absolutely think is a genius, Lex Friedman, and there's a reason why the Chinese government and the Asian governments, South Korea, were able to get this under control. First, stricter measures. Second, everyone was wearing masks and being very safe. We, as a whole in America, not all, because I'm sure there's some of you guys, or the majority of you guys, that are doing what I'm doing and staying in, but there's a lot of people still not adhering to these guidelines, and they're put in a play for a reason, to keep us healthy, safe, and to continue to have freedom and life, so let's be smart about this. Not everybody, I'm just talking. Anyway, I'd like to thank a friend, Dan Johnson, who sent me an email the other day when I had talking about comic books, and he is the editor of Empire Comic Book. He sent me 3 comics. Thank you so much, man. It really, they were digital, and they're so cool. Thank you. I appreciate what everybody does and sends me. You guys rock. And with that, I'm going to bid you guys farewell.